What's good, Kurlfriends? It is Dr. Crystal, and I would like to welcome you to another installment of Kurlfriend Chronicles. Now, if this is the first time we're having the pleasure to meet, I am Dr. Crystal Cunningham, clinical pharmacist, transformational curl care specialist, and the founder of Bold Culture Beauty. And today we are here to explore simple strategies that help us save time, build confidence, and make natural hair care easy. And then also engage with other curl friends to help normalize the struggles that we may have on our natural journeys and ultimately get to a place where we can make natural hair care easy. Now, I do see that my curl friend is here. I'm going to go ahead. Conversation, y'all. I'm super excited about today. On this journey, I have learned that our natural journeys, while they may be different, some struggles are the same, some struggles are shared. And so in an effort to pay it forward, I try to bring on girlfriends who can help normalize being who you are on your natural journey, and then help to also pour into us to give us simple strategies for us to be our best selves as we continue to progress on this natural journey. And so I am so excited that my new girlfriend has decided to join us today. I'm super excited to get into this conversation with her. I personally am a fan of yoga and wellness, and so I was super happy to find girlfriends in that space that look like me, not just in tone, but also when it comes to hair care, who are embracing who they are and are taking a holistic approach to it. So I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself. I'm super excited to get into this conversation with everybody, and go ahead and tell everybody who you are and what you do, and then tell me what you love about your natural hair.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Crystal, for having me. First off, I'm happy to be here. And yeah, like she said, my name is Lesline. I teach yoga to new moms, and more specifically, I show new moms how they can put themselves first through the use of yoga. The thing I love most about my natural hair, I would say, um, it sounds ironic to say, but there is a sense of freedom with it that I have, that I do like. It can be frustrating at times, I will say that. But now that I do have a routine with my hair and I know like what I need to do, I'm more confident in how I show up too. So I like the freedom. I guess will be the short response, what I like most about my hair.
No, and I actually think that's really good. And one of the things, I went live yesterday with another girlfriend, and one of the things that we talked about was getting to a space where we can free ourselves to be ourselves on this natural journey. And so I can appreciate that you love the freedom that comes with being natural, because I think a lot of times there's pressure to look a certain way, to be a certain way, to act a certain way. And we all need to get back to being ourselves, our authentic self. And for those of us who have chosen to be natural, part of that is embracing our hair, embracing the way we look, embracing the ups, the downs, and the struggles, and then learning through all of that. And then being free and gracious with ourselves to realize that everything doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
And everything doesn't have to fit into this box that we thought it had to fit into, especially when it comes to natural hair care. So I do appreciate that you enjoy the freedom that comes along with the natural hair, because I too enjoy that freedom. And natural hair care isn't necessarily one size fits all.
Right.
To explore and adjust as necessary. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, and y'all, I never tell anybody specifically what the questions are I'm going to ask.
I was like, where's the run of show? I was like, but no, I love this. I actually need to be more like this, because when I do things with people, I'm like, okay, let me send them questions. I know that's what they want, but I like this, yeah, this is good.
So let's talk a little bit about your natural journey and how you got to where you are, where you can appreciate the freedom that you are experiencing on your natural journey. So how did you start your journey to natural?
Yeah, I feel like when everybody else did in 2009, I feel like there was a moment in 2009 where all us Black girls, like there was like 3 or 4 Black natural hair YouTubers, and I saw a bunch of them doing it, and I was like, you know what? I want to go back to my natural hair because my mom actually, and she still is to this day, has been natural. Actually, I think my whole life. I actually need to ask her how. Anyways, but like as long as I can remember, my mom has been natural, and she has instilled in my sister and I like wear the hair on your head. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're not straightening it. She was all about. She didn't want to be spending her whole weekend in the beauty supplies like store. That was her whole thing. So she was like, I don't want to be taking you every so and so weeks to get your hair permed. So she was like, embrace your natural hair. But being a kid, I was like, I don't want to hear it. And I was like, I want my hair permed. So like I would like beg. I had to beg Crystal for my mom to let me perm my hair. And I would perm it here and there, and then I would go back. And it wasn't until 2009 when I graduated high school that I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my hair natural because I'm seeing it online now. And like, it was such an exciting time too. If you remember 2009, like starting to see people that looked like us
Right.
online. I was like, what is like, and I remember showing my mom, my sister, I was like, look, there's women that like look like us that have their hair and they're like doing their hair on the internet. Like, what is this? So I started like playing around with my hair. And I actually, because my hair was permed, I did the big chop in 2009. And then let my hair grow out for a little bit, dyed it, did all these things. Then, oh my God, it's been so many different things I've done with my hair since 2009. And if people have been, that are on here have known me for that long, they know I've done all different types of things. And then we'll fast forward to when I got
Mm-hmm.
pregnant. I decided to lock my hair because I heard once you have kids, like you don't have time. So I was like, okay, let me lock my hair. And I say like because we can get into that later, but just learning how to
Right.
prioritize your time, right? So got my hair locked, had my hair locked for about 2.5 years. And then a year or so ago, a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
I did the big jump again. I cut off all of my locks
Mm-hmm.
and I threw them away, which I was told I shouldn't have done that, but I did. I didn't know. I didn't know. So I threw them away because they're like, people are like, you could have put them back in. And I was like, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't. Anyways. So now I'm back again. And have been fortunate to find a
Mm-hmm.
natural hair person, Miriam. She's in
Yes.
Oviedo that has taught me like how to embrace my hair because since 2009 up until like a year
Mm-hmm.
ago, I really struggled with like I didn't know my hair could curl like this. I
Right.
didn't know that this was possible for me. Like I was like, oh, that's for the other girls because I technically have like 4C hair
Mm-hmm.
or like that kind of hair. So it would always just look like a way I didn't like, but I would still wear it because I was like, this is my hair. Like y'all are, and you can even look on my feed right now, like go all the way down. Before I knew how to really take care of my hair, it looked the way it looked. But because of yoga and like being in therapy and those things, I learned how to be confident in myself no
Mm-hmm.
matter how I look externally, right? And that doesn't mean that I just look any kind of way, but I'm just saying like that's where the confidence started was by going on my personal development journey.
No, and I think that's really rich. A couple of things that you said that stood out to me were one, when you realized that your hair could do a thing that you thought was always for someone else.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the images that are projected make us think that certain things are unattainable. But when we have the appropriate education, understanding, and we apply that appropriately and are consistent, it opens up a world of possibilities and makes a world of difference on our natural hair journeys. So we go from this place of having goals and expectations that we assume are unattainable that frustrate us
Yes.
about our journey to actually being able to understand and embrace our hair and then get to a place where we can actually reach those goals that we have set. And some of us, or sometimes we're on this journey and we're like, dang, that's not for me. I can't do that. I'm not going to be able to do that. But when we have the right understanding, and we approach our natural hair in the right way, then we realize that some of the things we thought weren't possible before are actually possible. And then another thing that I like that you said was how you were willing to accept what your hair could and couldn't do. And I think the flip side of what I just said and what you had mentioned was that sometimes we do have to be realistic about what our hair can and can't do. We do have to be realistic about the expectations we set, because sometimes we get frustrated on this journey because what we are shooting for might not be in line with the characteristics of our hair. But the good news is when we take the time to better understand that hair, when we take the time to really immerse ourselves in figuring out what the unique characteristics of our hair are and how we can work within the parameters of those characteristics to actually care for, nurture, and improve the health of our hair, we get to a place where natural hair care can become easy. And then you also partner with a specialist who helped you better understand your hair, who gave you some practical and applicable steps that you could take on this journey to get to a place where you are more comfortable and confident. So I think that is actually really dope. And I hope as we continue to talk and through this process of what we're doing, people can better understand that it is okay, one, to accept where you are, but then still have goals and aspirations to get somewhere else, especially when you understand more about your hair and how to properly care for it. Now, the other thing that you said that stood out to me was that you use yoga and therapy to help you get to a place where you were more comfortable and confident with yourself. And I know you are a large proponent of yoga. You are actually a yoga coach, and I'm looking forward to getting you into Bold
Yes.
Culture Beauty so we can do some things, because I love yoga as well. But give me a little bit more on that. Like, how were you able to use yoga to get you to a place where you were more comfortable and confident with yourself? And maybe what are some things that Kurlfriends can do to help them get to that same level of comfortability and comfort?
Yeah. Ooh. That's a really good question. I would say it's so challenging because it's like I want to be as succinct as possible. But once I became certified as a yoga teacher, that's when I got to really understand like what yoga is,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like it. First, I will say this: yoga is not a religion, because I know a lot of people in our community are like, oh, like have things to say about that. So it is not a religion. It is a way that you can unionize your mind, body, and soul
Okay.
through the use of moving your body, through the use of breathing. And then that can ultimately help you connect with God or whomever you call on to as that higher source, right? So learning that, like once I
Mm-hmm.
became certified, going through the training, and I was like, wow, like more I got quiet with myself and started meditating and praying and all those things, I started realizing that as corny as this may sound, I was like, I am created in his
Mm-hmm.
image. Like I'm created in God's image. God lives in me. Like these are the things I
Mm-hmm.
learned actually through my yoga teacher training. They didn't blatantly teach us this in the yoga
Right.
teacher training. I want to put that out there. But though the more quiet, because you have to do, your trainings and those kind of things, and a lot of it is like sitting in
Mm-hmm.
silence and like stretching. And so the more I'm like sitting in this silence and I'm stretching my body and I'm releasing trauma and all of that, really, I'm like, wow, I am beautifully and wonderfully made. And so the more that I practice yoga, meditating, and breathing, it got me more comfortable with living in my skin. That is really what it was. So I would say the part being quiet with
Mm-hmm.
myself, like, and I don't think a lot of us do that enough, like just sitting in silence, which can be scary
Mm-hmm.
too, because if you're used to like everything always being loud and being in places that are always loud to do certain types of things to get closer to God, the silence can be like, well, what am I supposed to listen for? But I promise you, it'll come up what needs to come up for you. And if it comes from God, it's always good. It's
Right.
always good. So.
No, and I think that is powerful. One of the things that I am learning to do is sit with myself in the silence. And it is hard because there's so many things that run through our heads, so many things that life kind of throws at us, and then so many avenues that we can actually use to distract ourselves. Like our phones are always there. Our kids, if we have them, are always there. Our jobs are always there. Our regular life concerns are always there. And so when you sit in that silence, sometimes your mind just wanders to all these things, and you're like, well, I thought I was trying to get to a good place, but now I'm like, so it is definitely hard. But I also like that you pointed out that realizing, understanding, and embracing the fact of who you are, how you're made, who created you, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. All of that plays into actually getting to a place where we can better appreciate the beauty of our hair, the beauty of ourselves, the beauty of our identity, and the time and intention that he took out to create us. And so I really like that, because part of my mission with this business, with Bold Culture Beauty, is to really help people. One of the things that I have learned is that identity is important, and that our hair can be a significant part of our identity. And when we don't feel good about how we look, when we don't feel good about our appearance, it affects the way we show up in other spaces and places. And so all of this that I'm doing is to really help us get our power back, to really help us better understand who we are and how we were made, but then also equip us with tools that we can actually apply to help us get to a place where we feel beautiful, where we are confident, and we can boldly embrace who we are and who we were meant to be, and take up the space that we were meant to take up in this world. And so I appreciate you pointing that out. And I would encourage Kurlfriends, even if they, and I like this freeing thing that you said, that yoga is not a religion, because we do have a stigma that we put on things that we don't understand, that we often tend to label. And so hopefully that freed somebody to, you don't have to practice yoga, but we can all practice sitting in silence. So right. You don't necessarily have to go through the process of practicing yoga, but you can practice sitting in silence. You can practice taking moments, mental breaks for yourself, because one of the things that I'm also a big proponent of, because I am a pharmacist, is that we should take a holistic approach to hair care, and a holistic approach to the way we care for ourselves, our minds, and our bodies in general. And so I appreciate that you freed some people today by letting them know that it is not a religion, but that you also give us the space and freedom to, if that is not our thing, just to get to a place where we make the mental space to sit in silence and to appreciate who we are, whose we are, and how we were made. And so tell me a little bit more about, because you said something about earlier, we'll get into us having time. So I think on our natural journeys, time is a very important thing. None of us want to spend all of our time doing anything. So you said you were going to get into helping us better understand how we had more time. So what was that you were?
Oh yeah, you're really good at remembering. I don't know if you're saying that, but what I meant with that is, so part of my natural hair journey, I got locks. I had locks for about 2.5 years. The main reason I got locks was because I heard like I wouldn't have enough time once I became a mom. Like, I saw all my friends that working moms, like, girl, your time, what is that? Me time? No. Self-care? No. Like, that's not happening for you. So I was like, okay, let me lock my hair up, because my hair, before I understood how to really take care of it, I was like, it's hard to deal with. Like that. Those are the things I was telling myself, right? So one thing also I will say with that, now I have a lot of friends who are like, how do you do all of these things, right? And I like to say first, I don't. Like, you will see me online showing up consistently and all of that. But there are other things like, you know, I have support in other types of ways, right? And then sometimes some things just don't get done, right? So I like to always say that first, because I feel like when you're like, okay, well, what is time management, right? Is in essence what we're talking about. And so for me, it's definitely very intuitive with my time management. So like some seasons of life are regimented and I'm writing things out. right now I'm in a season where things aren't really being like regimented as they should, if I'm going to be honest with you all. But there are things that I know I have to do every
Right.
day. And the only reason I am like that now, where I don't have to really write things out, is because I, for years, I would like be writing things down. I'd be doing this, I'd be doing that. So now I'm in a space like, okay, every day I write 10 things I'm grateful for. Every day I sit on the side of my bed and I just be looking and sitting in silence is what I'm doing, right? And then almost every day I try my best to move my body or just like take some deep breaths, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by doing those type of things, I'm able to gain mental clarity so I can really tackle what needs to be done for today. So,
No, and that makes a lot of sense. And so, one of the things I will point out, because I think sometimes on our natural journey, we automatically assume that caring for our hair, caring for ourselves is going to be something that is super time consuming. And sometimes, because of external influences, we might even incorporate practices that cause us to spend all of our time. But one of the things that I have learned is that it is important to assess what you're doing, assess where you got the idea from or who told you to do it, and to assess if it's even adding value to your life or is it adding more stress. And so one of the things that I like to do, and one of the things that I also encourage our girlfriends to do, especially when it comes to making sure they have enough time to properly care for their hair, is take inventory of what you're doing. Take inventory of where you got the information from. If it's not factual, if it's not serving you, if it's causing you to be more stressed than it is to actually reach what your goals are, then maybe it's time that you let it go. And I think it is freedom in realizing, one, that you don't have to be held to anybody else's standard, especially when it comes to time management, or even when it comes to being yourself and embracing your natural hair. But then also, it's your hair, it's your life. You get to set the rules on what you are and aren't going to do. And that as long as the goal is bringing you closer to being able to feel good about your hair, your identity, then you have more freedom in how you get there than what we sometimes think or what we might
yeah.
have thought in the past. And so, and I appreciate that nobody gets everything done all the time. I think life is a running list of to-dos
Yeah.
sometimes. And
Yeah.
then it's just creating symmetry, because I don't really like balance, but creating symmetry between your priorities, your like to-dos, and these I can get back to them later. And so I think another important thing that you pointed out is that you have a support
Yeah.
system. And I think one of the things that I've learned on this journey is that we need to identify the who's in our life that can help us get or accomplish the goals that we have set. And when we are able to do that, it makes a huge difference on our productivity,
Yes.
our level of satisfaction, and our frustration.
Mm.
And so, yeah.
And that you say things so eloquently. I feel like I'm getting better at like speaking in public, all of that. And I love hearing how you break all that down, because I just had a thought and it slipped my head. But what you were saying is, it's like the main thing I hear you saying is like asking for help.
Yes.
Because a lot of us do have support. We just are afraid to ask for help, and like maybe stop asking that same group of people, like maybe
Right.
looking somewhere else that you frequent, because we all, if you don't have the support, you can find it. It's
Right.
there for you. And I feel like some people are like, nobody supports me, and there's power in our words. If you continue saying nobody is going to support you, nobody is going to support
Right.
you. Like that, just like you're saying that out loud, so that's what you're gonna get. But if you're starting to say things like, I am incredibly supported, there are people that want to help me, then you're gonna start seeing things come into your life, and then you'll be able to have more time for your hair and self-care and all of those things. So it all really does go hand in hand.
It
And then
definitely.
it's actually beautiful, because now I know how to take care of my hair. Mind you, I said I've been natural since 2009, and here I am, like, what is it, like 12 plus years later,
Yeah.
and I'm now in a space where I'm like, wow, like I now know how to take care of my hair. And I tell every time I do my hair, I tell my husband, like, wow, like I can do it. Like, and there's freedom in that too,
Right.
where like investing in somebody, like if it be Crystal or somebody else that is an expert in their in natural hair specifically, that empowers you.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's something that Miriam, she empowered me. Like, I didn't even realize. I remember, I think I shared with you,
Mm-hmm.
Crystal, when I sat in the chair the first time with her late last year, I was saying such negative things. Like I'm saying to y'all, don't speak negative. I was like, my hair, it's just always dry. I can't stand it. Like I was saying all of these things, and not once did Miriam say like fuel the fire.
Right.
She was just she reframed everything about my hair, and that the mindset stuff that I didn't know I was signing up for really helped.
It
And she
definitely does.
it was it was great. Yeah.
And I will say, one of the things that I try to do, even in spaces and places like this, or even when I encounter girlfriends in the store and in the salon, is help them to reframe the negative thoughts, help them to actually attack the negative thoughts that got them to the place that causes them to approach hair care the way that they do. Now, one of the things that I have learned is that some of our misconceptions about natural hair, some of the things that we say have been inherited and passed down from generation to generation, and they were implanted as a divisive mechanism amongst ourselves. And, you know, we have to get to a place, though, where we can look at the lie, reject it, and fill that negative space with truth. And I think it is very empowering when you can be able to speak life over your hair, your natural journey, where you can better understand your natural hair. And I don't think people really understand sometimes how powerful our mindset is when it comes to natural hair. Because I've talked to plenty of I'll say girlfriends, because they're not always all women, but I've talked to plenty of girlfriends who come in and say they have good hair, or they don't have good hair, or their hair isn't nappy. And I'm like, what is that anyway? Why are we so hung up on that? Why wouldn't we find the beauty and the goodness in what is the hair that is growing out of our hair? Which is also why every time I do a live on Kurlfriend Chronicles, I ask my girlfriends what do they love about their natural hair, because I think we are so accustomed to hearing people complain about their natural journeys. We're so accustomed to hearing people say negative things about natural hair care. We're so accustomed to hearing people paint the ugly picture of what natural hair care is, that we often aren't even open to the softer side of hair care. We often aren't even open to really embracing our natural journeys and finding ease. You would be surprised at how many people are committed and dedicated to the struggle. And I think sometimes it's even like subliminal. They don't even understand it. But when you show them a better way, an easier way to care for their hair, they're so resistant to it because they've been conditioned to think that it has to be hard. And so I appreciate the fact that you pointed out the mindset part, because sometimes we are so attached to the negative parts of our natural experiences that we are unwilling to be open to people that are providing information and helpful information that will help you get to a place where it's not hard. Like, I'm not telling you to shave your head, to stand on your head, to put all this stuff. I'm telling you to change the way you view what you thought things were supposed to be, and open yourself to the possibility that you could actually make this process easier. And I think when we get to that point, when we can reject all the negative misconceptions, when we can free ourselves from these unrealistic expectations, like we all have to know how to do our hair, we all have to have our hair looking perfect, we all have to have everything together. Like, half of making natural hair care easy is rejecting the negative misconceptions that we have had about natural hair care, and setting a better tone and intention when it comes to caring for our hair, accepting our hair as it is, even if it's not in the best state, and then making an intentional decision to understand that hair, to care for that hair, and then to consistently work towards improving the health of that hair. And I think when we get there, we will realize that natural hair care can ultimately be easier. And that is what I'm here to do. And that is why I bring Kurlfriends on here, because I think the beauty of it is the Kurlfriends that I bring have in their own way gotten to a place where they can appreciate their hair, where they understand their hair, where they're free to navigate their journeys and do what they want to do to and for their hair, and where they are loving and embracing that hair, and ultimately working towards the goal of having healthy hair. And when we have healthy hair, it creates a healthier mindset. Our goals are easier to achieve, and we can walk into spaces and places and be confident. We could be feel good about ourselves, and we can claim that space that we're supposed to have. And so I know you do yoga. What are some mindset things that we might be able to incorporate into our daily lives that can help us maybe reframe some of those negative activities, or even when we have a day when our hair isn't giving what we thought it should give?
I don't know.
Where we can just like center ourselves and get back to a more positive mindset towards our hair.
Yeah. Ooh, because like I said, there like before I figured out how to do my hair, my hair was just looking the way it was looking, and do just okay, practical tools, listening. Okay, let me focus. I would say really just going back to breathing, like just sitting with yourself when you get frustrated, because I still have those times too where like I'm doing my hair and I'm just like I get annoyed, and then I have to take a moment and just take like 3 deep breaths, like the ones that go all the way into your belly, not just up in your chest, like really bringing that breath all the way down to your belly and expanding your belly, and then letting the air out through your mouth. Like doing deep belly breaths will help regulate your nervous system. So then you can, if that be you're doing your hair or your hair is not doing what it wants to, you can at least like think with a clearer head, okay, how am I gonna move forward? Am I gonna put a hat on, or am I going to like put it in a pony, whatever it is? But you'll be less frustrated with yourself. And by regulating your nervous system too, you'll be able to step out no matter how the hair on your head looks that day, and be more confident because you regulated yourself, and then you're not snapping at somebody like, oh, don't look at my hair. And it's like, I wasn't even looking at that. Like they're like, you know, I was looking at your smile, or I was looking at your cool shoes. You know what I mean? So but just checking yourself first, and how to check yourself first is regulating yourself first, regulating your emotions, regulating your nervous system. And the easiest way to do that is really with breathing. Like that is one of the most powerful things that we have, that we kind of discredit. We're like, oh, it's just our breath. And no, it's not just your breath, because if you hold your breath for 20 seconds right now, like you are probably like, oh my God, like that's when you're like, oh, I really need to breathe. So, and that's actually one whole aspect of yoga. There's 8 limbs of yoga, and pranayama, which is the breath. That is one whole thing of yoga. Like we learn just that, and different ways that you can breathe. So say breathing. Yeah.
Breathing. And you know what I think is so dope? I was listening to an audiobook, and I've actually heard a couple of people say it after that, but that and I'm gonna get this part wrong, but like the actual linguistic spelling of Yahweh is the sound of the breath that we make in our mouth. So like when we breathe out, so it's like Yahweh without the vowels. So it's that Y.
YWH. Right?
I don't know, girl. But I didn't go to seminary, y'all.
Neither did I.
But when we breathe out, that is literally like a prayer or a praise, because it's like God's breath and God's name coming out of our mouth. And so I think that is very powerful when you say to center yourselves, and how one of the major limbs for yoga is built on breathing, but like just a simple thing that you can do that would center you, that would draw you closer to peace, that would draw you closer to God, that would help you have a better perspective and not frustrate yourself or feel some kind of way, is breathing. And I have gotten in the habit of actually, when I feel frustrated, breathing. When I see my kids getting frustrated, asking them to take deep breaths, because I understand that sometimes stress can be inherited. And so I want to make sure that I am setting a good example for these children, so that they know how to better manage themselves. But then that as I move through life, I can approach situations better. I can have a clearer perspective on different things, and I can come to a solution easier if I don't let the frustration or the overwhelm cause me to spiral in a way that actually shuts me down. So I love that you said to breathe, because breathing makes a huge difference. And when I learned that one piece about like, it's just like Yahweh without the vowels.
I looked that up.
Yeah, so I just feel like it's the simple things.
It really, no, it really is the simple things. And I love how you said you share breath work with your kids as
Hmm.
well. Because that's what it is. You're doing breath work. Because
Right.
I do that too. My daughter is 3 and she has a lot of emotions.
Hmm.
Like she gets really angry. That's one of her things right now. And it's learning how to first me do my breath and then I get down to her and we breathe together. And that really like she like goes from like hot headed to like mellow, like within a few minutes, you
It,
know? So, and it's learning as a parent too to like really ground yourself
right.
before you like, cause sometimes I do catch myself
Hmm.
because it's like generational stuff where you're like, why are you crying? Or figure it out. And I'm about to say that. And I'm like, she's 3 years old. Like she doesn't know. And I'm like, oh my God, I actually had that realization the other day. I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to show my daughter how to regulate her emotions. So when she is
Hmm.
alone, she'll be like, okay, I know what to do, right? So that's also how yoga has helped me have better hair. It's helped me be a better parent, be a better partner. Like it really has. It's just trickled into all areas of my life. So yeah.
And I think it is important when we, especially working with children, that sometimes we don't realize that we haven't demonstrated the quality that we want them to embody. And
Yes.
so I check
Yes.
myself a lot of times, like I'm expecting them to do something that I don't do well. And sometimes they might see me not doing it well and they're
Right.
emulating what they saw me do. And then when they do it, I'm like, that's not right. And so
Right.
I have been very intentional about making sure that I am the example, I'm setting the example that I want my children to follow. When it comes to how we control the way we act, how we reframe negative thoughts, and how we approach different situations in different spaces and places, because it definitely makes a difference. And then also, because I do have 2 sons, but I am natural. So how I appreciate the way I look, how I
Yeah. That's a lot too,
exude.
especially
Yeah.
having 2 sons, like
Yeah.
them seeing you take care of yourself.
Right.
Yeah, that's a whole other hour conversation.
But yes, it all matters. And I think once we um, refocus on what actually
Yeah.
matters, then we're better able to approach not only our natural hair journey, but every other aspect of our personal journeys better. And you are right. Our kids are always watching us. And I think if we were more conscious of that and
Yeah.
more intentional, because one of my mentors says most things are caught, not taught. And so we have to display the qualities that we want our children to emulate and exude on their own personal journeys and in order for them to do that, we got to check ourselves and realize what are we doing, which is also why it's always important to address the negative thoughts we have about hair care, the negative thoughts we have about image, because all of that stuff is caught by our children and they emulate those things. And so I am very intentional when I'm working with my kids to encourage them, one, to be able to care for their hair themselves. They're boys, but they both have hair. My youngest has a high top and my oldest has like a fro, so they have hair. The other day they washed their hair themselves and they were super excited about it, and I was excited because I didn't have to do it, but
Yeah.
but like empowering them to feel good about their journey so that when they get to this age, they're not fighting this uphill battle where they're trying to get to a place where they feel comfortable and confident
Right.
in the hair that naturally grows out of their head. And so I think it is very important that we are modeling what we want our children to see, but then also modeling what we want our other girlfriends to see and
Right.
embrace and to be able to do as well. Because girlfriends, it is possible to get to a place where you feel beautiful and confident in your natural hair, even if it is not perfectly defined, even if your hair did not come out perfect that morning, even if you don't even know how to do your hair just yet, even if you don't even realize what is possible for your hair, it is possible to get to a place where you feel comfortable and confident. And I hope through doing these Curlfriend Chronicles and inviting different girlfriends with different stories, with different life aspects, with different journeys, that we realize that natural hair care while the basis of it may be the same, it's not necessarily one size fits all.
Yeah.
Everybody looks different. Everybody's hair is different. And we don't have to be confined to looking a certain way, to acting a certain way, to have curls that are a certain way. And we're not expecting you to have it all perfect. And I still appreciate that you said that when your hair was looking how it was looking, you loved it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think we have to get to that space because it ain't always going to be perfect. And I appreciate the fact that you pointed out that even though you have learned how to better care for your hair, things don't always work out the way you want them to. Sometimes you still get frustrated. Sometimes I still get frustrated. And it's funny, I was telling one of my girlfriends this yesterday, that some of the cutest styles that I've had that weren't a wash and go came from doing a wash and go that was a flop. And so I was like, oh, I'm not going outside looking like this because this is not how I want to look, but let me figure out how to pin this side up, or let me put this puff up, or let me slick this pony back. And yesterday we called it playing in the middle, but like nothing has to be perfect and nobody's expecting anything to be perfect. And most of the times we don't even know if what you're doing isn't perfect.
Right.
But if you exude the
Yes.
confidence that you know you have based off of what you know about your hair, based off of the pursuit of healthy hair, then none of the other stuff matters. And I like that you pointed out that most of the time people aren't even checking for you in that way. And one thing I learned is that we project our insecurities or the things that we would pick out on other people onto those people. So we might be like, oh girl, that girl's looking at my hair because I'm always looking at other people's hair. And so we have to realize that if we let that go and focus on us, like we don't have to worry about feeling insecure about that, because in most situations people aren't studying you because they have their own personal issues, they have their own personal things going on. And I think it is super freeing if we just stop worrying about everybody else and worry about ourselves. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you're trying to achieve? And then how can you get there? And that would alleviate a whole lot of stress on this journey. But again, it all goes back to mindset and having a better understanding of your hair, appreciating who you are and how you're made, and then partnering with people that can help you get to a place that you can ultimately make this natural journey easier. And so maybe my last question, and Kurlfriends, if y'all have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comments because we're more than happy to answer whatever questions you may have. But what is one of your favorite breathing exercises? Because we've come to the conclusion that breath work is a great way to settle ourselves, and Kurlfriends, stress does not help you on your natural hair journey. So I do want to point that out, that sometimes the stress and frustration is one of the things that is working against us on our journey to actually reach our goals and get to a place that we want to be. So what is a great, quick, easy breathing exercise that we can do when we may feel frustrated, when we may feel overwhelmed, when our hair isn't giving what it's supposed to give, that can kind of help us recenter ourselves and get back to a place where we can regroup and move forward?
Yeah, box breathing. Okay. So box breathing, it literally is like how you see us in these two boxes. You breathe in, so you breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you would hold 2, 3, 4. Then out 2, 3, 4. Then in 2, 3, 4. Hold. So it's just repeating the in, hold, out, and you're thinking of the box. So that's why I'm going like this, because I'm just tracing the box that's that I'm in. So look up box breathing, and I'll actually probably do a video, if not this week, next week, posted on my Instagram as well as my YouTube, where we'll go more into detail about box breathing. The reason I like box breathing, because I know I also mentioned deep belly breathing, which deep belly breathing, you can also do that as you're doing the box breathing. So you're just pushing the air all the way down for a count of 4. You're holding, then you're pushing out the air. You're breathing in. The reason I like box breathing is because it's giving you something to visualize. So, you probably close your eyes, right? And then it's giving you the numbers too. So you're like, okay, I have something to focus on, because, like we were mentioning, you have a lot of thoughts and all this stuff going on when you're sitting still. So by having some type of visualization of a box and the numbers, that will help you calm down. And then also with the science of breathing, you're relaxing yourself and kicking in your parasympathetic nervous system so that you feel more relaxed.
So, Curlfriends, make sure you try that box breathing. I was actually doing it with you. I didn't close my eyes,
Oh,
but
okay.
I was actually doing it with you while you were counting us through it. But I think breath work is a great technique for all the reasons that you just explained. But then also just realizing that perfection isn't the goal. Healthy hair is. And I
Yes.
think when we approach natural hair care that way, it ultimately makes things easier. That also, we all get frustrated on our journeys. Sometimes we all have struggles on this journey, but that when we focus on improving the health of our hair, when we focus on being intentional about the information that we receive, the thoughts that we allow to dictate how we move on this natural journey, and even the products that we use when it comes to caring for our hair, if we have more intention surrounding those things, if we immerse ourselves in understanding, appreciating, and embracing our natural hair, that we can ultimately make natural hair care easy. And so, Curlfriends, I hope this Alive has blessed you the way that it has blessed me. I hope that you can walk away with some gems that you can apply to your journey, that you are more encouraged to be free, to love your hair, to embrace your hair, to focus on improving the health of your hair, and that now you have some simple strategies that you can apply right now when the hair isn't giving what it's supposed to give, when you aren't feeling excited about your natural hair journey, and that you free yourself from those negative misconceptions that have you approaching natural hair care in a way that keeps you from doing your best and being your best on your natural hair journey. Curlfriends, it has been a pleasure to share this time with you. Thank you, Leslie, for taking some time out and helping us get our peace back on this natural journey. It was definitely a pleasure to talk to you. And Curlfriends, if you are in the Orlando area, make sure you join me Saturday because we're popping up at Bold Culture Beauty from 1 to 4. A couple of your favorite brands will be here. There'll be some giveaways. There'll be a whole lot of fun. So make sure you check it out. And then there's also a raffle. So if you would like to get raffle tickets, I'll post the link. It should already be in my stories, but make sure you check it out because we're giving away some amazing gifts that I think all Curlfriends could benefit from on their natural hair journey. And Curlfriends, until next week. Oh, and if you have any questions about natural hair care or you need help, feel free to reach out and schedule a consult because I would love to serve you and help you address the negative thoughts and take practical steps to ultimately help you make natural hair care easy. And Curlfriends, Leslie, thank you so much again for your time. And until next week,
Bye.
go boldly.